The real reason you're still broke despite a good salary. You're earning more money than you ever have before. Maybe you just got a raise. Maybe you switched jobs and landed something that pays significantly better than anything you've had before. By every external measure, you should be doing well. And yet somehow, at the end of every month, you're looking at your bank account wondering where it all went. Not because you bought anything crazy, not because you made some massive financial mistake. Just gone. Quietly, gradually, without any single obvious culprit. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know something important before we go any further. This is not a willpower problem. It is not a discipline problem. It is not a you problem at all. There is a specific, well-documented psychological mechanism that causes this to happen to almost everyone who gets a raise or a higher-paying job. And once you understand how it works, the solution becomes obvious. But until you understand it, you can keep earning more and more money and somehow keep ending up in the exact same place. I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and the gap between what people earn and what they actually keep. If you want to understand why your income keeps going up, but your financial situation doesn't seem to change, subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up making something click for you. Now, before we get into the mechanism itself, let me ask you something. Think about the last time your income went up. Maybe it was a raise, a bonus, a new job, a side hustle that started paying out. Do you remember telling yourself that this time you'd finally get ahead? That this extra money was going to change things? And then 6 months later, you'd somehow adjusted to the new income level and it felt just as tight as before? That feeling has a name. It's called lifestyle inflation. And it is quietly one of the most financially destructive forces that exists. Not because it's dramatic, because it isn't. It's completely invisible while it's happening. Here's how it works. When your income increases, your brain doesn't register it as an opportunity to save more. It registers it as permission to spend more. This isn't a character flaw. This is evolutionary psychology doing exactly what it was designed to do. For most of human history, consuming resources when they were available was the smart move. Storing them was uncertain. So your brain, operating on ancient wiring, sees more income and immediately begins looking for ways to upgrade your life to match it. The upgrades start small. You stop buying the generic brand because you don't need to anymore. You get a slightly nicer apartment because you can afford it now. You eat out a bit more often because you've earned it. You upgrade your phone on the next cycle instead of keeping the old one another year. None of these individual decisions feels significant. Each one is completely reasonable in isolation. But here's what's happening underneath the surface. Your baseline cost of living is rising in lockstep with your income. And because it rises gradually and comfortably, you never feel it happening. This is the trap. And it doesn't just catch people with average salaries. It catches doctors. It catches lawyers. It catches software engineers making $200,000 a year who somehow can't figure out where the money goes. Lifestyle inflation is completely income agnostic. It scales perfectly to whatever you earn. Give it more to work with, and it will consume more every single time. Let's put some numbers on this so it stops being abstract. Say you were earning $50,000 a year, and you got a raise to $65,000. That's $15,000 more per year. After taxes, call it around $10,000 in additional take-home pay. That's an extra $830 per month landing in your account. Now, here's what most people do with that $830. They move into a nicer apartment, maybe $300 more per month. They get a car payment or upgrade their current car, another $200 per month. They start eating out more, upgrading their grocery shopping, getting a gym membership they actually use this time, another $150 per month. Subscriptions, streaming services, a few upgrades here and there, another $100 per month. That's $750 of the $830 gone every single month without a single irresponsible purchase. Without a single moment of reckless spending, just a series of completely reasonable lifestyle upgrades that together consume almost the entire raise. And the $80 left over isn't building any meaningful wealth either. Here's what makes this genuinely dangerous long term. It's not just that you're not saving the raise. It's that you've now permanently increased your cost of living. If you lose that job, if your income drops for any reason, you can't just go back to how you lived before. The nicer apartment has a lease. The car has a payment. The subscriptions are on auto-renew. You've built a financial structure that requires your new income level to survive, which means you have more money and less financial flexibility than you did before the raise. This is why people who earn good salaries are often more financially fragile than people who earn less but haven't inflated their lifestyle to match. The person earning $40,000 with low fixed costs and a modest savings rate is often in a stronger financial position than the person earning $90,000 who has upgraded their life to cost $85,000 to run. Now let's talk about the social dimension of this, because it's a massive accelerant that nobody talks about, honestly. When your income goes up, your social circle often shifts, or your existing social circle starts spending more because everyone is earning more at roughly the same time. Suddenly, the vacations your friends are taking are more expensive. The restaurants you're going to together are pricier. The weddings, the events, the weekend trips, everything around you scales up simultaneously. And spending less than the people around you requires a level of deliberate resistance that most people are never taught to apply. There's a term for this: relative deprivation. The feeling of having less than the people you're comparing yourself to, even when you objectively have more than you did before. And in a social media environment where everyone is constantly broadcasting the best version of their financial life, relative deprivation is running at an all-time high. You're not comparing yourself to where you were 2 years ago. You're comparing yourself to your curated feed of people who all appear to be living better than you. And that comparison drives spending in ways that have nothing to do with what you actually need, or even genuinely want. So what's the actual solution here? Because understanding the problem is only useful if it points towards something actionable. The mechanism that breaks the lifestyle inflation cycle is called paying yourself first. And I know that phrase sounds like financial advice from 1987, but the reason it keeps getting repeated is because it actually works. And almost nobody genuinely does it. Here's the real version of it. The moment your income increases, before you adjust anything about your lifestyle, you automate the difference into savings or investments. Not what's left over at the end of the month, not whatever feels comfortable. The increase, moved automatically before you ever see it in your checking account. This works because of the same psychological mechanism that causes lifestyle inflation in the first place. Your brain adjusts to whatever is available in your spending account. If the raise goes in and sits there, your brain incorporates it into your available spending, and lifestyle inflation consumes it. If the raise goes directly into a brokerage account or a high-yield savings account before you ever see it, your brain never incorporates it into your baseline atmosphere. You adapt to the same spending level you had before, and the raise builds wealth silently in the background. This is not a theory. This is documented behavioral economics. The single most effective predictor of whether someone builds wealth is not their income. It is the gap between their income and their lifestyle cost. And the easiest way to protect that gap when income increases is to never let your brain register the increase as spendable money in the first place. Let me give you the concrete version of what this looks like. Same scenario. You go from $50,000 to $65,000, $10,000 more per year after tax, $830 more per month. Instead of letting that hit your checking account, you immediately set up an automatic transfer of $600 per month into an index fund. You give yourself $200 of lifestyle upgrade, because you're a human being, and some reward is both reasonable and sustainable. That's $600 per month invested over 30 years at 8% annual growth becomes approximately $800,000 from one raise, without ever touching your lifestyle in any meaningful way. That's the difference between understanding how lifestyle inflation works and not understanding it. Here's something else worth naming directly. A lot of people reading this are going to think this sounds good in theory,
but feels impossible in practice. Because your current lifestyle costs what it costs, and there isn't obvious slack to cut. And I want to be honest with you about that. If you've already inflated your lifestyle to match your current income, rewinding that is genuinely hard. It requires real decisions that feel like going backward. Downgrading the apartment, getting out of the car payment, cutting things that have become part of how your life feels normal. That friction is real. But here's the reframe that makes it more manageable. You're not downgrading your life. You're buying back your financial flexibility. Every fixed cost you reduce doesn't just save you that dollar amount. It reduces the income you need to survive.
It reduces your financial fragility. It increases the gap between what you earn and what your life costs. And that gap is the only number that actually determines whether you build wealth, regardless of what you earn. The goal isn't to earn more. Plenty of high earners die broke. The goal is to keep more of what you earn. And the only way to do that consistently is to make the decision about where your money goes before lifestyle inflation makes it for you. Because lifestyle inflation doesn't ask permission. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly raises your cost of living every time your income goes up. Until one day, you're earning 3 times what you used to earn, and somehow still wondering where it all went at the end of every month. Now you know why. The question is what you're going to do about it.